Just a quick tutorial on how to work through steps 2 and 3. Once we have replaced the translation of the Greek word proskartereo with a transliteration, I dropped it into a chart like this with two columns. Best guess meaning, where I'm going to write out what I guess proskartereo means, and then I'm going to make some observations about the verse. So I've already done that, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I wasn't sure, and oftentimes I'm going to use question marks. All of this is best guess. So he told his disciples that a boat should wait for him, stand ready for him, be prepared for him. And I observed that we've got a boat that's doing the action, and it's whatever it's doing for a person, in this case Jesus. Acts 1:14, devote, give focused attention, invest in, persist in. What were my guessing? I noticed that people are doing this to the activity of prayer. Acts 2:42, devote, give focused attention, persist in. And again, it's people doing it to things besides prayer, teaching, fellowship, breaking bread, and prayer. And so I did my best guess as I worked down through, and I made observations on each of the verses. I'm particularly observing things like, since this is a verb, who's the subject of the verb? Is it a thing or is it a person? Is there an object of the verb, or is there a reason for the verb? In this case, the object or the focus is listed there. And I noticed that when we got down to Acts 8:13, that we have a person proskartereoing with another person. That's different than the previous ones. And in Acts 10:7, we have he summoned two of his servants and a devout soldier of those who proskarterundon him. So it's people who proskartereo another person. And these two were similar. Alright, so that's step 2, where I've done my best guess meaning, I've made some observations on the verse. Now I come to step 3. In step 3, I went through and color-coded the passages that shared features. So for example, the most obvious here in green is that all of these verses had people who were doing the action of proskartereo. The ones that have prayer in blue all involved prayer. This one involved being a servant of God in government. But all of these that I'm highlighting now involved people proskartereoing themselves to some activity. So I'm going to group those together and distinguish between people who proskartereo with another person or who proskartereo another person. In my case, it seems to me like this and the boat actually look like pretty much the same thing. Whereas Simon proskartereoing with Philip seems to be something different. Now, it doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong at this point. All I've done is I've observed and I've grouped together texts that I think fit, and on that basis I started writing my senses. The word proskartereo has the following senses. 1, to give focused, persistent attention to something. Number 2, to persist in being with a person. And number 3, to wait on, be ready for, or to serve someone. Sense 1 is illustrated by Acts 6:4. We will give focused attention to prayer. So that's my definition slotted into the place where proskartereo goes. Sense 2 is illustrated by Acts 8:13. And sense 2, he was persisting in being with Philip. Sense 3 is illustrated by Acts 10:7. Those who were devoted to him. Maybe devoted to serving him. I have step 3B almost completely done. The other thing that I need to do is add, after each one of these sentences, other instances of this sense include, and here's where my grouping of verses together work. So, for example, I would say Acts 1:14, 2:42, 46, 6:4. And now I have this. I'm sorry, I just saw that I said once when I meant other. This sense also occurs in, and that would be Mark 3:9. Okay, and so you can see how I found my senses, observed, pulled together the things that were similar, and then on the basis wrote up a text.